S&P Global is predicting that the copper supply shortages will be so severe and prices so high in coming years that they risk delaying the global shift away from fossil fuels. We're going to talk a little bit about it, so stay tuned. What do you say? What do you say, YouTube? Welcome to another edition of the Silver and Gold Stack Attack. This is episode number 96. As always, my immense appreciation to you for taking a few minutes out of your day to check out the new video. And if you'd like to help support this channel, then why not click on that thumbs up button, leave a comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. You guys have been really great to this channel, and I can't thank you enough for the support. It really does mean a lot. So, as we all know, copper has had its ups and downs value-wise. And this year it's been really volatile, with a substantial drop to $3.23 a pound from a 2022 high of $4.92 a pound back in early March of this year. But a study by S&P Global is indicating that a price increase is almost guaranteed in the next decade, and that the shortages will be severe unless certain measures come into play. We're going to get into that right now, so let's roll. Now, S&P Global is a big believer that severe copper shortages are imminent. Even their global vice chairman, Noah Yergin, has chimed in by stating that either supply miraculously appears or the goal of energy transition just gets pushed out further. These guys are absolutely convinced that we're going to hit critical shortages of copper. So let's see if we can muddle through this mess. First off, let's take a look at a 5-year chart for copper so we can see the peaks and valleys of its value by the pound. And as you can see, March of 2020, we had a really severe low of $2.11 a pound. And ironically, the 5-year high of $4.92 a pound was in March of 2022. So, exactly 2 years later, we had the lowest and the highest amount. And let's show the present point of $3.23 a pound in July of this year. You see that on the far right. The last time we were this low was in November of 2020 when, hey, we were also at $3.23 a pound. And that was right around the time COVID was seriously hampering just about everything. So what's going to drive that price of copper back up? Well, when we talk value, we have to talk about copper deficits, and the numbers don't lie. Copper has been running a deficit over the last couple of years. In other words, there was more demand than supply during those times. Now, it's important to note that this does not mean there was a copper shortage in the ground. It just means that the available copper that had been mined had a supply that didn't meet demand. And I'll give you an example of that deficit. In 2020, there was a worldwide surplus of 142,000 tons of copper. Just 2 years ago, there was plenty to go around. But S&P Global has calculated that we could be potentially looking at a 220,000 ton deficit just by 2025. Market analysts, they're estimating the annual copper supply could be as high as 10 million tons by 2030 if no new mines are built and operating. It's an extreme example because you figure as the cost of copper goes up, it's going to encourage new mines to open. But regardless of how short we are, the demand for copper outweighing the above ground supply should have a positive effect on the value of copper. So why the present drop in price? Well, in the copper chart that we went through earlier, you saw that we're presently at the lowest value for copper we've seen in 2 years. So what's causing it? Well, consider that the larger copper miners are back in production, pumping out copper and refilling the reserves, while some of the biggest consumer countries that use copper aren't quite up to speed yet, making products that need copper. Go COVID. Until the consumer companies kind of step up production, there just isn't going to be an equal balance of supply and demand, and that could keep the market underwhelmed for, an indeterminable amount of time. So all that being said, where will the price of copper go? Goldman Sachs is clearly the most bullish on copper, which really shouldn't be a surprise, given it released a report in April of 2021 suggesting copper is the new oil. This is due to its critical role in achieving Paris climate goals. And they're expecting copper to average more than $11,800 a ton in 2022 on its way to a high of 15,000 a ton this decade. I don't know about that. I just don't know about that. We're more than halfway through the year already in 2022, and I don't think we're going to see 11,800 before the end of the year. Just my opinion. Most other analysts see a 2022 Q4 low of 6,500 to 8,500 and potential highs of 9,500 to 10,000 a ton in late 2022. Those numbers I agree with. Goldman Sachs, they're in a business to sell. Well, one thing we can agree on, nobody agrees on anything when it comes to the price of copper or where it's going. The magic question, how many years of copper are left? According to USGS data, since 1950, there's always been, on average, 40 years of copper reserves and over 200 years of resources left. Analysts kind of expect copper to be a modest surplus, and that's going to be helped by ample mine supply growth, but inventories, they're likely going to remain low. The levels will remain low. So 2023 is also expected to have a modest surplus of copper, and analysts are guessing next year should be pretty solid. So to finally cover the title of this video, will we run out of copper? Look, like I said, according to USGS, various reports indicate that either there's a lot of copper left to mine or that we won't run out of copper anytime soon. They all corroborate that. And in reality, it appears that only 12% of the entire world's reserve has been mined throughout human history, and an incredible amount of copper is still buried underground. Now, in reality, there's more copper available today than at any other time in history, and we also have the ability to infinitely recycle copper, which means that society is extremely unlikely to deplete the world's copper supply. Now, that being said, there are a range of factors that could impact copper demand and supply in the future, but we should be well covered for our lifetimes. You folks watching this video, for me, for you, we should be well covered depending on your age, of course. And who knows, by the time the supply gets truly scarce, maybe an alternative will be implemented by then, and eliminating the need for copper altogether. Hell, maybe we'll all run on flux capacitors or something.
A vision! A picture in my head! A picture of this!
Just keep this in mind. There's a big difference in operating in a copper deficit than there is in a legit copper shortage. All right. All that being said, what's the best way to invest in copper if you're so inclined? Is it all this stuff you see in front of you? Bars and rounds? Not really. To be honest, this is probably the absolute least economical way to invest in copper. And you got to remember that you're paying a premium for this stuff, and it's so far off the actual value of copper that you're operating at a loss. It's one thing to collect them, and there is nothing wrong with that. I do it. I love doing it. I love collecting these. And there's personal value in that alone. And some of these rounds are going to at least maintain what you paid for them, or a little bit more as they go up in demand. But if you're stacking this stuff in hopes of cashing in, if or when copper goes to the moon, well, you might seriously want to reconsider. Now, all that said, and keeping in mind that I am not a financial analyst, and I am not attempting to sway you in one direction or the next, but my personal belief is that the best money to be made with copper lies in stocks. And quite a few mining companies can be found on the TSX. So if you're interested in going that route, then do your due diligence before you invest a single penny. Get it? And that is going to wrap it up for this 96th episode of the Silver and Gold Stack Attack. And if you made it this far, well, kudos to you. Be sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of copper going up or down, and are you investing in it? I know a lot of the folks I'm connected with here on YouTube, some of you have a real affinity for copper, and some of you guys are just flat out crazy about it. And I think that's awesome. I love this stuff myself. I can't get enough. Anyway, I will catch up with you in the next episode. But in the meantime, what you gonna do? Damn right. Hell yeah, get stacked. Stay safe and be well, everyone. I am out of here. Peace, people.